Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to an episode of Manny Talks Shooting. Today on deck, we've got my buddy Rob Epifania, the
What's up,
ninja dry fire Jedi master of whatever.
Whatever.
He's in the house. How you doing tonight, Rob?
I like that. Yeah, it's good, man. I'm good, man. How are
Good.
you? Intro.
I am doing fantastic. It's been a long day, but a good day. So
Always.
yeah, we get to hang out and chit chat. So if you didn't know, guys, this is a podcast by me for you to enjoy. I get to talk to whoever I want to in the firearms industry, competition, self-defense, trainers alike. Guys, you're gonna love it. Rob is a awesome production USPSA master, and we're gonna dive deep into his brain about a couple things today. So prepare for it, Rob. So I want to let the guests know who you are and how did you get into competition shooting.
So, how did I get into competition shooting? So, my whole life has been high performance sports of some sort, right? So, I played basketball in high school up into college. After college, I got into volleyball while I was working full time, and it's basically been the same kind of thing, like practice 40 hours a week, or, I was working full time. I was practicing 15, 20 hours a week, just seeing improvement quickly. 2010, I got into a motorcycle accident. So a lot of people don't know this. I broke my pelvis. I dislocated my knee. I ripped a bunch of muscles in half, and it was not so good. What most people don't know about me is that I actually have a disability. So I can't lift my right foot from that accident. So I wear like a brace that goes into the sole of my shoe, and it holds my foot up. I can push it down, and then it just returns my foot.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I was in the hospital for a month and out of work for 5 months and all that stuff. But it wasn't fun. But sports were basically at that point cutting sports like volleyball, basketball, all the sports that I played. Were basically not worth playing anymore at that point. So I got into shooting in general. That was the next thing. Like I was like a year later, and I got into self-defense kind of training. It was 2011, whatever. And like everything else that's happened to me, I basically got hooked on that. So, I took Chris Fry of MDTS training. I took his classes. I took like 20 of his classes in a year, something like that, going crazy. And then I became an instructor in, I think it was late 2012. I helped him up till 2019 when he went to Vegas. He's heading Progressive Force Concepts now. You've heard of that company. But I started training with people who started to blend the self-defense industry, personal protection, with performance. So guys like Travis Haley, Frank Proctor, TPC, like those kind of outfits that would kind of take, hey, this is personal protection, and combine it with some sort of performance-based shooting that competitive shooting is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was always doing well in those classes, and I would always be towards the top of the group, and it basically became, well, competing is the next thing I have to do. Like that's the next thing I want to get to the top of. So, April 2018, I started competing seriously. I had shot like a handful of competitions before that, but nothing with any sort of goal in mind or drive to be at the top. And that's basically how I've gotten to where I've gotten to today. I kind of put all that energy and time and effort that I did in the past in my younger years into this, and here we are talking on this podcast.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think most people know you. Every morning you're posting some of your dry fire on Instagram and showing people what you can do with dry fire. And now you're in such smaller space than when I first started following and talking to you. So you're really making it work for what you've got now. I mean, you must have like what, maybe 10 square feet, maybe if that.
It's a 13 by 15 room. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's but you know what? It really, when it comes down to it, so Travis Haley actually said this to me, and this stuck with me for a long time. You can have a lot of resources, but you can also just be resourceful with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
So in here, I have a bunch of targets. I mean, as you can see, I got some behind me. And what I actually do is I actually open that door. Can you see that door?
No, not in the frame, no. But yes, you do have your door.
I open that door up, right? That's usually where I put the camera too, and there's a hallway in there, and I can get about 8 to 10 yards and a vision barrier. So the wall to the door becomes a vision barrier with which I can use to do whatever I want to do, like position entry, that kind of thing, tracking the A zone, like kind of X-ray vision through the wall. Like there's a
Hmm.
lot of things that I can do with this setup, really.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I mean, I get to the range once or twice a week. That's pretty common. So thankfully we have a good range around here with which I can pretty much set up and do whatever I want. So I use that time to really open up things and set up bigger stages and that kind of thing. And now I am at work actually. At the
Hmm.
end of the day, I'm actually going out in the back of our building instead of putting some sticks down. I have some of my target stands that I brought into work, and I'm doing movement training out there. You know, so it's just figuring out what you can do with your day.
Hmm.
Taking the resources that you have and making the best. Really.
Oh, and absolutely. I mean, if people did that, I mean, there would be no excuses for why they can't do it or why they can't get better.
Right. I'd agree with that totally.
I mean, I'll talk to some of my buddies and they always will make excuses to me, and I'm like, well, I don't have time. I'm like, dude, you can get 20 minutes in a day, to set your phone down, put on the belt. I mean, I kind of live in my inner belt now lately, so then I can just
I
slap
do.
the outer belt on.
I do. I wear mine every day, dude.
I mean, they hold your pants up, and then you can like, well, just got to undo it and tuck my shirt in, and
That's it, man. Really. I mean, it comes. You look at like some people in life, and like they say Steve Jobs, like he basically wore the same outfit every day. Basically creating less choices to have to make. That take up some of that mental energy that you want to choose to use to focus on the thing that's most important to you. You know. So I've adopted some of that. Like I could literally just get out of bed, like grab my belt, grab my gun, put everything on, and get to work. It
hmm
just makes it a lot easier.
oh, it definitely does. And I mean, especially when you have like a routine like yours, where you've pretty much planned it out to the T essentially in the morning. Like, this is my routine. I have to get this done. It's time to go to work, and
And it's create the habits. So you create solid habits. And then what happens is when life gets a little hectic or things get jumbled around or something like that, the habits can still take over, and you could be flexible in the timing of the habits.
hmm
So if I didn't dry fire in the morning, I could do it at night. Like strength training for me, typically that's a nighttime thing. But because my schedule's been a little hectic, I actually took some of the exercises that I could do in the morning, and I've shifted them to the morning now. So I
hmm
could do, like this morning I dry fired for, I think it was a shorter session. So I did from like 7:30 to 8:15. I made like 300 rounds of ammo because I have the section championship, the Mid Atlantic, coming up this weekend,
hmm
and I strength trained after that. You know, all before going to work. Now work is a bit flexible for me, so I can go in a bit later, which I typically do. But if I were forced to be in at 8, let's say, I just get up earlier. I mean, that's just, you know, the
yeah,
habit is the same. It's just the flexibility to work with the timing and the priorities that shift your timing of the day around.
yeah, and you gotta accommodate your schedule, but it's nice because I am lucky. I've kind of got a routine down typically in the morning where it's get up, get ready, get the dogs taken care of, come back, make breakfast, go dry fire, then
Mhm.
go do other things, come back. Luckily, I might get a session in because before work, typically, because I'll work in the afternoons most of the time.
Mhm.
And if I'm lucky after work, if I'm feeling it, I'll go and have another session. But I'm only going for 20-minute sessions, and it just breaks it up a little bit.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that like the 2-a-days.
Mm-hmm.
And some people like doing it in the afternoon. Some people like doing it in the morning. Something I read in a book a while back. It was either Peak Performance or High Performance Habits. Those are the two names of the book that I really recommend to people when I talk about anything performance related. Um, I want to say it was High Performance Habits, but I don't remember off the top of my head. It was one of those two for sure. Um, Most people who are high performers, they will typically do that which is most important to them, their most important work first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point you have the most mental energy, you have the most focus available to you. So I kind of took that to heart. And, after you get up and you let yourself kind of wake up, it's not like I just, literally roll out of bed and I get up, I might shower, I might do something, you know,
Mm.
15, 20 minutes, like kind of get myself like ready to go and then go after that first. You feel a pretty big sense of accomplishment when you get that important thing done first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you feel very similar, when you get the dry car before work too.
Yeah, it definitely helps. And it, sometimes it's like, well, something comes up, but it's always, oh, hang on, I gotta get my shit done.
That's what it is, man.
You know, well, I give the wife her coffee and let her read her book or her newspaper and be like, here, read this. I'm busy for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Occupy yourself. Well, it's not hard. She'll just get on like Facebook or something too, and then you're like, good, you're occupied. I got my stuff to do.
It's just making sure you get that consistent effort in too, you know.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be an hour. It doesn't have to be an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like some people think it has to be this crazy amount. I personally really enjoy it, and I have the time to do it. So I tend to do quite a bit, but I like truthfully, like I have so much fun doing it. I get lost in time. They have some, there was a book called, I believe, The Rise of the Superhuman, and they talk about this thing called flow state, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you get into this flow state, it's more powerful than drugs. And I could totally see that because when I'm training, when I'm shooting live, when I'm training here, like literally there like nothing matters. Like at this point, like I'm in the zone and I'm just doing my thing. Like I don't care how long it takes. The time just flies, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know. The problem is that you have to come off of that, from time to time. So I usually take one day a week where I don't train.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then it's funny because when you're in that state a lot, when you know how to put yourself in that state quite a bit, when you don't when you're not in it and you take that recovery day, right? I call it a recovery day or a supporting session, um, because a lot of people are very driven, like they think that they need to train 7 days a week. And eventually you end up burning out doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You do it for a short period, but it's not something you could sustain long term. So what they did with Olympic athletes, actually, they told them that they were doing supporting sessions and they were basically giving them rest days, but they were giving them something, something to do, whatever it might be. For me, it could be like mindfulness training. I spend 10 or 20 minutes doing mindfulness training. Have you heard of that?
No. What is that? Go ahead and deep into that.
Mindfulness training. So there's meditation. You understand what meditation is, right?
Oh
Being
yes. Yep.
relaxed. Mindfulness training is similar to that, but a little different in the sense that you're paying attention to one thing. Typically speaking, what for most people when they start, and for me even this point, the hardest part for me to focus on is my breath. Literally
Mm.
just breathe in, breathe out, and really focus on all different aspects of that. Shift your awareness around as you want. The difference between mindfulness and meditation is that mindfulness, if you're feeling a certain way, you accept that and you non-judgmentally dismiss it just like that. Um, so if you have a thought come into your head, I got to let the dogs out, right? That's not a necessary thought at the moment. You're really trying to focus on your breath, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
basically, for me, you know how on a phone, how you swipe away an app, right? That's what I tell them. That's what I do in my mind. I literally go like this, go, oh, it's not needed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Swipe it away. It could be something that I want to think about, right? Hey, listen, I can't wait to see my girl later. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I want to think about that and I can't wait to see her, but it's not necessary in this moment. So I need to put it away. Good, bad, whatever. And this helps you a lot in competitive shooting in the sense of, for one, you're able to really hyper focus in the moment as you need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're also able to take things that are unwanted and push them out of your mind. Hey, listen, I thought about this. That's a thought that I'm having. Okay, it needs to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I had a bad stage. Oh, I don't like the results of that. Put it away. You know what I mean? It's an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. It's helped me a lot in the past year to be able to focus more on the process, not on the results.
And has that kind of helped your visualizations then?
Um, I would say yes, because it's allowed me to really key into what it is that I need to pay attention to. Something that I learned in the last year was when I am at a match, I need to connect and disconnect. So after I'm done shooting, right, I'm allowed to think about what happened. It's fine, good, bad, or whatever. Um, Load my mags. Once my mags are done, I reset for the next stage. I basically disconnect entirely at that point. So I talk with friends, whatever have you, like just bullshit, mess around. Um, and what that does for me is that allows me to completely like relax and just get away from what's going on at the moment, so that on the next stage when it's time to actually focus, I can really dial in and focus
Hmm.
properly. You know, people try to stay like zoned in 100% of the time, and I think that just mentally fatigues you, especially over the course of 8-10 hour day where you're back and forth and you're really trying to focus super hard. I think that actually causes people to burn out like during the day. So I figured that this ended up working out very well. And then hey, listen, I have a tough stage. Hey, go talk to my friends, go talk to my girl, like whatever have you, and be able to enjoy that moment. And then it puts me in the mindset. Okay, well now it's time to get back to work. Let's key in. Let's focus. Let's do our thing. You
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, and I'm like that too. I'm much like it's time to joke around, it's time to be fun, and then like I'm in the hole or something, or even in the deep hole. That's when you kind of start cranking the gears to get serious and get back into it, and then be super focused because no one wants to be around the guy who's super super dialed in all day, who doesn't want to have a best time, and they're not very enjoyable to hang around with at that point.
No, no. Like I said, it creates a lot of mental stress, unnecessary mental stress for them. They might do all right for a bit, but you can't hold that all day.
Yeah.
You hold that 100% hyper focused all day. It's not beneficial. Eventually that will catch up to you when the
Hmm.
pressure comes. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Now, what is your match day routine like before you get to the match? Like, are you take your time? Are you getting there super early?
So, well, it depends on the match. A local match, I'll typically get there about an hour before. Um, what I will try to do is I will find, for one, I usually walk the stages first. I'll kind of get an idea of what I'm going to see, what I need to pay attention to, that kind of thing. Get a basic idea of what I plan to do. Like I'm not going to set anything in stone just in case there's something I missed or there's a better idea. When it comes down to it, the execution is the most important, but I don't like to get so set in a way that oh, I see, you see some guy do something, you're like, oh shit, like, man, that's a lot better than what I plan to do,
Hmm.
which it's happened before to me, but it's, some people get so dialed into I need to do it this way that they don't see the obvious choice that might be easier. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah.
Or that gives you a big benefit. So just a basic, hey, I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to do that, right? But be open to other options if it's necessary. Like for me, I could typically change something relatively quickly and be able to dial it in, without too much stress. I mean, I spent a lot of time doing visualizations and stage type like sequences, like in training, so I can get something down pretty quick. As long as it's reasonable, as long as it's not like silly or complex. Like if it's too complex, then it's probably not worth doing anyway.
Right. Yeah. And then at that point, it's not worth the squeeze, and you could have you could mess up your plan or miss something, and it's not worth it at that point.
If I'm the first guy on the stage, unless it's a significant difference that I think that it's going to be, I won't do it.
Hmm.
Stick with what I'm going to do. I know I'm going to do it well, and just do it that way.
Now,
Um, yeah.
now, what's your percentage of keeping your plan at that point? Like you're up to the line. Say you watch a phenomenal shooter shoot like a couple people before you, and they show you a plan that was better better than yours. What's the percentage you sticking to your plan at that point?
I don't usually give a percentage. I just kind of look at it and say, well, how do I feel about that? Is it a noticeable difference? Do I think it's going to be a noticeable difference? If the answer is yes, then I'll try to burn it in.
Hmm.
Um, it doesn't like I said, it's usually just shifting around a couple different things. It's usually not entirely different. I've spent a lot of time doing different stage type plans and visualizations and walkthroughs and all that stuff. So if I feel I can get it quickly, I'll do it. But if not,
Mhm.
like if I feel like it's not really worth it, I'll just stick with my thing. It happened at nationals a couple of times. There were a couple guys that did a couple different plans, and I'm like, man, I'm not going to do that. It's just I'm pretty comfortable with what I see here, and I think I'll be able to run this very aggressively. Without and that's an important part too, being able to execute. You know,
Yeah. Like they
uh,
say, a mediocre stage plan executed, perfectly is much better than a whiz bang, poorly executed stage plan.
100%. But so yeah, so after walking the stages, typically speaking, I'll go do some dry fire. If it's a major match, I will dry fire in the hotel the morning, like before I even go to the range.
Mm-hmm.
I have a specific warm up, and I've taught that at the training group summit 2 years in a row now. That gets me dialed in to be able to perform pretty well. Like people say competitive shooting is about going into your on demand cold performance. It's not. It's not. It's how well you can program and link the programming that you've set to your execution. You know, how can you create a physical walkthrough that's going to link your physical, sensations to when you actually have the gun in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
My warm up, like, I don't have to fire a live round. I didn't. The intention was not to have to fire a live round, but it gets me dialed in with draws, transitions, reloads, trigger control, like pretty much everything you could think of, like before the match. So it's for me, it takes me 5 to 10 minutes to do, and it gets me dialed in for almost everything that I'm going to see for the day. And anybody who doesn't do this, they probably should, because if you go into a match, right, you're going to a match, and I don't know, wherever the fuck, like, some of these matches are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your home range, right? So you don't really feel familiar, right? You can't necessarily do the same routines. This is a routine that you could literally take with you and bring it to anywhere. So this makes you feel at home wherever it is that you are, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that I'd encourage everybody to pay attention to, and figure out a routine in terms of dry fire warm up that will give you the best results in terms of, hey, coming out on stage one, I'm able to do pretty well, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It just, you go to the warm up bay or you go to the safe table and you can go, warm up, do what you got to do, and be ready for the day. I mean, it's all about the preparation you put into it. So if you don't prepare, it's what you're going to reap what you sow.
Exactly. You know, um, and it's the idea, like I said, is not to have to rely on a live fire practice bay, especially at a big match.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be something you could do in the hotel, or I don't like to do it at a safe table, because me personally, I like to practice reloads with full weighted mags.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not allowed at the safe table. So I figured out a way to practice reloads without ever having to take the gun out. And I've talked about it. I've talked about it on my stories and stuff. There's a certain index point that I use, and if you hit that index point, you pretty much know that you've done a pretty well perfect reload.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it gives you an opportunity to during walkthrough to understand where the gun's going to be in space compared to your body and how it's moving. You know, which allows your reloads to become a much higher chance of good execution. Nothing is
Yeah.
100%. Especially in reloads, nothing. It's not 100%. I mean, there are times where I bone reloads too. It's just the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes in my case, if I pop my hip the wrong way and it rotates the wrong way, the grab gets a little messed up, and it screws things up. So that's something I'm actively working on now to address. But
Mm-hmm.
typically speaking, this has improved my execution significantly. It's a point where that doesn't happen too often.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you have some of the spiciest reloads. I mean, I even want to say your live fire 4 aces is very impressive, sir.
Thank you.
I mean,
My fastest to date is a 183. It's a
mhm.
75 draw and a 73 reload.
Well, don't they say you have to have the same speed reload and draw?
That was a Vogel thing. Vogel was the one that got me obsessed with 4 races, pretty much. Because that was I saw him in 2018 it was probably July at his place in Ohio, and we did it there, and it was like, man, that's fun. It sucks. I hated it. Don't get me wrong. I hated it so much, but um, I just got determined to be good at it. Now
Mhm.
180, 190. I mean, that's not match speed. Comfortable speed for me, match speed, all A's, that kind of thing is probably like 210, 220. In Vogel's class, I hosted him. I think it was last year, 2020. Yeah, I hosted him at our range, and I did a 206 in front of the class. You know, so it was fast. He said that was the fastest student ever did it. It's cool, but
Yeah. Did you beat him then?
I might have beat him in that class.
Mm-hmm.
But our speeds are pretty well fast at this point.
Yeah.
But he's Bob Vogel, so he's awesome.
Does he prefer Bob or Robert?
Robert is actually what he prefers. I'm just so used to calling him Bob from all the times I see him, like, oh, Bob Vogel, Bob Vogel. But yeah, when I see him, I call him Robert because that's what he typically prefers.
Oh, okay. So because I hear people say both ways, so it's just like
He doesn't mind Bob either, but he prefers Robert.
I think we need to make him a shirt then.
Yeah,
I prefer Robert.
I prefer Robert. Yeah, I prefer Rob. I don't like Bob. Robert.
Bobbert.
That was a nickname of mine in middle school.
Yeah.
Nothing Bobbert. Yeah, that's what they call him.
Oh. I did get some questions today, but we'll address those in a second. And you shoot production, like everyone should know this, but you're shooting a CZ Shadow 2, I'm assuming?
Yep.
And you run a Gugas belt. Gugaribus belt?
Yeah, I run their mag pouches.
Yep.
I have a whole conglomerate of shit on my belt. Double alpha belt. I have since the rule change. I put a double alpha magnet just to have a magnet on there. It's like the little two magnet pouch. And what I do is if I'm doing an unloaded start or a reload off the pouch, like I'll put it at the top magnet because it releases like a normal mag pouch. But
right.
Gugaribus mag pouches. I just using a GX products holster now. Their Vice holster. I started using it this season. Boss hanger, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you got a Vice, didn't you?
I did.
And you were using like a Comp Tech or something like that before, weren't you, or a Blade Tech?
Yep, I was using the Boss holster with Comp Tech body.
Comp Tech body.
Good holster. I just like the idea of the Vice retention, which seems to work nicely. I mean, the Comp Tech served me well. I used the bungee cord, like I just.
Mm-hmm. Did you keep the bungee cord for like memories on there or no?
I still have it. It's on my other belt.
There
Yeah,
you go.
it's important because I had one time where I was ROing somebody, and they took off running in our shitty like beach sand that we have at our range.
Mm-hmm.
I felt the gun like pop out. It was on the ground.
At least you weren't the shooter though.
I wasn't, but I spent 30 minutes cleaning the gun to then be the next shooter to have a not so good stage because I just didn't get it. Like I was literally hoping the gun would work, and it was there was sand everywhere in that thing. So
yeah, where we shoot in Michigan, it's a bunch of sand pits too. So I don't feel bad. It's the cheapest way to make a range, I guess. Just bring in a bunch of sand.
Yeah, I mean it's nice in some ways, but I mean, like that range that I train at that you guys see most of my videos, it's like firm, deep. So like it really messes with your movement skills a lot. I've also learned that it's hindering my ability in a match to properly decelerate, like when I'm on gravel or grass. Like it's very easy to stop in that sand. Like I can literally like almost like plant hard, and the sand will absorb a lot of that energy.
Mm-hmm.
Where I have to decelerate on other surfaces. Typically what would happen is I decelerate too early. So that's part of the reason for doing the movement training on grass too.
Right.
Get the idea how that feels. Start stopping there. You know,
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Now, I had a couple questions. One was, why do you still shoot production?
because I want to win.
Because you want to win.
Yeah. Well, like my goal truthfully is to win nationals. That's not a 6 month thing. That's not a next year thing. That's, for me, in my head, that's a 3 to 4 year thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna require all the time, all the effort. There's luck involved. So I can have an awesome day and someone has a better day. Like, that's just what happens. Like, but I want to get myself in the position where everything goes my way, the right way. That I can win, and then
Okay.
I'm gonna choose to do something different. Or decide if I want to do something different. Honestly speaking, I think limited is probably where I'd be best. You
Yeah.
know, my recoil control, that 40 doesn't bother me. Major scoring gives me a little bit more ability to be more aggressive. I'd have to build some movement skills up, but it's not something I'm incapable of. So I would be able to do it.
Now, if you went to limited, would you be shooting like a 2011 or would you shoot like a CZ model?
I don't know. I mean, I like 2011s. They're great. They're great guns. I do like the TSO, like tactical sport. Like Ben's limited gun is nice. The Tanfo,
Mm-hmm.
which he's got. The gun really doesn't matter so much to me at this point. And that's a few years in the future too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's not something I'm so concerned with right now. When the time is right, I'll pick a gun and I'll be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Provided it's not a high point. I mean,
Right.
although I mean, that ultimate high point YouTube video a couple years back was enticing.
Oh yes, yes, it was. It definitely was.
Love that video.
Yeah. Now, now say no. Tongue, brain, start working together. All right. So you said your goal is to win nationals.
Yes.
2019 that was your first nationals, correct? I'm not 2019, 2020.
20,
Factory gun.
2019. Yeah.
Okay.
2019 was first.
And that was in frostproof, wasn't it?
I was in Frostproof.
How did that comparing your three nationals events?
Mm-hmm.
How where did your first nationals? Where'd you end up at? Do you remember?
I think it was like 73% or something like that. 72 and change.
Okay. And then we had factory gun nationals in 2020.
Uh-huh.
That was about looks like 80%.
Yep.
I'm looking at that right.
Second. Yep.
And do you know what placement that was last year?
22nd.
22nd. And then you came in at this one at 84%. And what? You came in 18th place.
18.
There you go. You're cutting the distance here, sir.
Yep. Well, my goal, if nationals were in October, would be to place top 10. That was
I
my
can
goal
see.
this year. So with 6 months and not the same. Normally, what I do is at the end of the year, I take 2 to 3 weeks off, like from training entirely, which I did, and then I come back, you know, live fire once a week, dry fire about 4 days a week. For January, February, March, I start to ramp up a little more, maybe 6 days a week, with one day of live fire, and then April I start going twice a week live fire, 4 days a week dry fire.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with 6 months and the winter kind of sucks to shoot in. I mean, I still shoot, I still do it. I mean, if it's 20 degrees out, I'm out there. It doesn't matter. If it's a blizzard, like there was literally ice all over the range one day, and I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't realize it was closed, so I had to leave. But I showed up. I'm like, oh, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm going to train. But I gave myself a goal of top 20. I figured that would be a reasonable goal to make.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would like, by the next nationals, whenever it occurs, I'd like to be over 90%. That's what
Yeah.
I'm.
Get
That's
on
the
the
next goal at that point.
get on the super squad and
Mm-hmm.
shoot with Mason and Nils and JJ, and
Mm-hmm.
that'd be really cool. That'd be
Oh,
always.
I trained with Mason recently. Mason's an awesome dude. Trained with
Mhm.
JJ last year. JJ's a great dude. I appreciate all these guys for what they know and what they teach.
Mhm. Yeah, Mason is definitely on my short list. We've got a group of guys here in Michigan who are talking about bringing Mason if ammo comes back to some form of normalcy, because something, even if it just like is on the shelf for like $50 for 1,000 primers. I mean, something. If it was regular, if you
Mhm.
could get it. I
Oh, yeah.
mean, I know people would pay the premium for primers and ammunition, but long as it's on the shelf and it's sitting there, you don't have to worry about, are you going to get your next box of ammo or primers?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been paying close attention to make sure I have enough supply. And I didn't leave myself hindered to train up to nationals. I mean, I started training twice a week. Live fire probably at the beginning of April. You know,
hmm
so I wasn't gonna stop myself from doing what I felt I needed to do to feel relatively prepared. Um,
hmm
at this point, I'm dropping the round count down a little bit. Including more dry fire within my live fire sessions too, to kind of quell the amount of volume that I shoot. You know,
hmm
for me, it's about being more realistic with everything that I do. So
hmm
more live fire for me is going to be better. Um,
Right.
where some people can get away with more dry fire and still be okay. That's just not how my mind works.
Yeah, you kind of need to do what works for you, and I mean, now you said you implemented more dry fire into your live fire session,
Yep.
and I know you were at the summit. Did you take Andreas's block?
No, but I did see what he did. Um, I do like, and I mean, him and I talk, here and there
hmm
about stuff, and I've been paying attention to what he posts. I like the idea of what he does, and I do use some of that in my own training as well.
hmm
So I'll say, okay, I'm going to pick, I'm going to do this. And you can see it on some of my YouTube channel videos, like where, okay, I'm going to come this way, I'm going to tap the trigger twice for this, then I'm going to shoot this target because I'm looking for a certain response or whatever have you, and then I'm going to go through tapping the trigger for some of the other stuff.
hmm
It's useful, it definitely is useful, and I like what it can do for you.
hmm
Especially if you're picking a problem area, you're doing live fire and you're seeing a problem, you can stop and just dry fire the entire thing, and you'll find that um, you'll see the same kind of issues creep up.
hmm
That'll definitely help you for sure.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the coolest things. That kind of the clips that was able to be pushed out to the public from the summit was pretty cool.
Mhm.
I liked that idea. I haven't implemented it yet. I haven't hit the range in a couple of weeks, but it's a very cool idea. I'm gonna see if it works for me, especially since it can make your session actually worth it, and the time and the trip. Especially with, say, you take 50 rounds, you
Yep,
can really stretch your 50 rounds into an hour and a half to 2 hours, or
you can. And it's valuable. There was a point in time where Ben actually limited me to 200 rounds in a session and 15 minutes of dry fire a day. So for me, it's very easy for me to throw volume at something. Like, I don't. For one, I love training. I love it. Absolutely love it. I don't give a fuck. Like, I would do it every single day if I didn't have to work or do anything. Like, it's a passion, and I really enjoy it. So, hey, I'm having a problem with something. Like, hey, let me just fucking do more reps. Like, just keep slaving away and get to a certain point by volume. Um, but what that was doing is that was not creating training efficiency. So not being able to say, hey, listen, okay, this is enough for aces practice. Like, I can move on to something that's more important.
hmm
At this point, like, I enjoy four aces, so I'll do like one or two reps a session, just to make sure it's there. Hey, listen, okay, I can recall this in my head. I can do it as I want to do it. Hey, I did it. Move on. You know what I mean?
hmm
Like, or whatever it might be. The thing that needs the attention will get the effort, focus, right? And rep quality doesn't. If you have higher rep quality, like, you can get more out of that rep also. So
Absolutely.
being able to physically walk through something, and then visualize it, and then execute it, and then trying to link all those things together more and more closely, that's more relevant to our sport once you've achieved the requisite skill levels on things. transitions, draws, reloads, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
At that point, it's being able to put everything together and link everything together. From your physical walkthrough to whatever your visualization is to your execution of said thing. That's what's very important for us.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, I forgot to mention in the beginning, you are a PSTG member. Like you said, you've taught past 2 years at the summit. Do you
Mhm.
want to tell the viewers what the summit is, and if they decided to be a member, what they could kind of expect out of it, out of the program as well?
So my story with PSTG, I started off as a bronze member. Alexis Pena, he was a friend of mine. Him and I, we trained with Ben together. I think we trained once together with Ben, but we had talked before that for a good bit, and we still talk here and there today. Um, he had said he signed up for PSTG, and he's like, "Hey, listen, like, sign up, do bronze for a month, see what you think." So I said, "All right, it's $25. Like, what is it? It's not going to cost me anything. I'm already committed to this."
Mm-hmm.
So I signed up in November 2018. Got a lot out of just the bronze membership, just looking at stuff, seeing Ben and Hwansik review other people's footage. Was able to give me points that I could pay attention to. Um, I saw Ben first time in April 2019, and I had intended on upgrading. Right, it was either going to be silver, which is the one review a month, and basically nothing else, or the gold, where you get the private forum and a training plan, and you get a weekly review if you choose. Right. I wanted to see, um, how Ben was as an instructor. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Did I like the way he taught, and did I get along with him? I signed up for gold the second day of that class. You know, because it was, for one, I got along with Ben very well, and I felt that his instruction is very good. It's very specific. It's concise. I like a lot of detail, but he's very specific and short. But it absolutely works. He's got a very good eye.
Mm-hmm.
He is probably one of the best instructors eyes that I've trained with. You know, um, and that's from there. I mean, they hosted they called out for instructors for the summit, to help out, or whatever help they needed for last year's summit. I was like, sign me up. I was the first one to respond in that thread. I'm like, yes, please, whatever you guys need, I don't care. Like, I'm going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, the summit is like a culmination of a bunch of different high level instructors teaching a specific thing, right? So you pay $500 for a 2-day class typically, right? Four,
Mm-hmm.
five, $600, like, give or take, here and there, to train with somebody for 2 days. The cost of this is very, very reasonable comparatively to that, right? You get 3 days of instruction we had 10 instructors this year. So it's an opportunity to learn a bunch of different things from a bunch of different people who are well known for whatever they're teaching at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good opportunity. 2-hour blocks, and I think people did 4 blocks a day. Last year I shot probably 1,500, 1,700 rounds. This year we calmed it down quite a bit. There was a lot of dry fire, but
Mm-hmm.
so most people probably went through 1,000 rounds. I know I did, and I took Quansik's block. I watched Lane Greaves' block, which was a good block as well, about blending positions. I took Mason's block. I think those are the 3 that I did. Other than that, I pretty much, I trained on stages. I did some training for myself to continue on. I helped some of the guys out too, that wanted help.
There you go.
But
Yeah, I've definitely been thinking about it. I've had some people encourage me to join, just like you said, go be a bronze member. It's only going to cost you $25. That's
you'll upgrade, dude. Like, if you're
Mhm.
if you're serious, I will tell you this. Like, for the cost of a gold membership, dude, there's not much more value you're going to get out of it. You're not, because I mean, my plan is updated probably every month or two, and they
Mhm.
they put a lot of effort into figuring out what is going to continue getting you better.
Mhm.
I know for me with Ben, like, helping me learn to let go was a challenge, you know, and we're getting through that, you know, and he's put a lot of time and effort into trying to figure out what's the next thing that's going to help me be able to push harder and let go.
Mm-hmm.
I have all this skill and I have all this talent. Like, now, how do we take that and let that go there? You know, which is where we've come up with like programming and execution. Like, for me, that clicks. Like, I have data, right? This is how I'm going to shoot this target. I don't give a shit how I feel about it. I'm going to shoot it this way,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I program that in my mind. If I program that in my mind, that's the way I shoot. You know, and in training, I'm paying very close attention to splits and transitions and what I'm seeing to verify that I am in fact shooting it that way.
Right, and you're very analytical, and I mean, we all have to be objective instead of subjective with our shooting, because as soon as we get subjective, you don't get the right data you need. And
no, things get misperceived. You know, for me, mentally, I'm a turtle. Like, my body's very naturally fast, right? I could do things at a very high speed.
mm-hmm.
But my mind as the engineer, it's like, hey, listen, we got to double, triple check this thing. So, you know, hold up a second, which is not the way that I need to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me to get the best performances, like, whatever I program has to feel a little uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I should be sitting at the stage being like, I'm not quite sure about this, you know, in my mind, because at that point I've programmed it correctly. You know, when I feel that, you know, stress response, right? People call it nervousness. I don't call it that way.
Mm-hmm.
One, I call it excitement. It creates a positive connotation to it, right? So stress response is that, like, it's just your body's way of responding to stress. It's whatever you choose to assign the meaning to it that makes the difference. So if I feel that first stage jitters, right, that people talk about, I tell myself I'm excited. I can't wait to shoot. You know, I can't wait to shoot, and when I feel this way, things go well. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and what ends up happening for me, I'm very low key. So finding my optimal energy level, I have to amp myself up, right? When I'm the first shooter, when it's the first stage, like, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna crush this. Like, when I feel that feeling, I'm like, things are probably gonna go very well.
Mm-hmm.
And now I actually look for that feeling. And when you can feel that tension and that energy and that stress and be able to harness it and the benefits that come with it, you know, it's a huge deal.
Definitely.
It makes you harder to beat. It's going to, you know, not that I'm unbeatable, because at this moment I'm not, but you know, I am beatable, I should say. But um, you know, that's going to be an asset as time goes on.
Absolutely. And I love going first. I don't mind it. I don't know. I don't feel nervous when I get to the line. I just feel that tingly amped feeling of like, let's do this thing. Let's burn it down.
Love it, dude. When I feel that way, I get some awesome performances. You know, and then when you're excited to feel that feeling, it's no longer a crutch, or it doesn't cripple you. Just, it enhances everything that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It does. And I love the feeling. Especially like even like you shooting like a classifier or something. It's like, oh, I'm ready. I'm gonna burn this thing down. Because you know there's so many people say I hate classifiers. I suck at classifiers. It's like another short course and just burn this thing down like you normally do.
Yep. Well, it's just, you know, what happens is people get focused on the results, and I was guilty of that too.
Mm-hmm.
You get focused on the results. Oh, I want to do well. I want to do this. I want to do that, and it's like, you just program it and execute it. Like, that's the way, you know, the results are going to be what they're going to be, like, good, bad, or otherwise. Like, you've set it to be this way. You have to run it this way. You're not allowed to deviate. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter how you feel about it. Doesn't matter if you're confident, if you believe in yourself, you know, if you feel good that day. Like, no, this is what I've set to do, and this is what I'm going to do. It does not matter, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's just I tell myself it's gonna be what, my current level of skill. That's what I'm gonna shoot it at.
Right.
It's
You
like
know, yeah, go ahead.
if it's meant to happen, it's gonna happen. If it's not, it's not. It's just like, well, we're gonna do what we got to do here today.
And if there's an issue, okay, that's fine. There's an issue. This didn't go as well as I wanted it to. What do I need to address, right? You know, or what's a common theme in a match, you know, that I need to address going forward. You know, like the match, this match over the weekend I just shot was, My common themes, like I'd like to get a little more visually precise. My vision isn't quite, it's snapping quickly and it's getting to around the right spot, but sometimes it's not exactly where it needs to be. Collecting a little more data on a little bit tighter of a partial and where to look at, like where to really aim.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of reloads, is just making sure I'm setting my hip to not rotate before I move, before I grab the mag. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if my hips pop, right, the mag's gonna be in a different place as I'm reaching for it, which is gonna cause a potential issue. You know,
Yeah.
those are some things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it is. You just constantly, the next obstacle you encounter is success, it's progress. You know, and if you don't push yourself to find that next obstacle, the next failure point, like you can't rebuild better.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Yeah.
gonna.
Yeah, and then you'll stagnate and you really won't progress and you won't get any better. And then you'll wonder, why am I still doing this if I'm not getting it, if I'm not progressing down the path?
Right. You know, it's that's people get into plateaus. I mean, you know, thank God I haven't had one yet, but you know, it's also being open to the ideas. It's also having the right people helping you out, like the right support. Like it is a lot to it. You know, if you're doing it all on your own, I mean, it's harder because
Mm-hmm.
it's up to you and your current level of thinking and ability to be able to continually think outside the box to try to figure out different solutions. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whereas if you have, you know, and I use Ben and Hwansik really because they're the guys that know me the best, and they're the guys that I really like pay the most attention to. But you know, you have guys like that who understand me. I mean, I've been a gold member. This would be my third year that I just started. So you know, they've known me for 3 years, like almost every week. You know, more so in the beginning, I was posting almost every day. Like, you know, I know Ben was like probably like sitting on the toilet, like, man, this guy writes a lot. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but but um you know, they can look a little more into my mind, you know, and see what might be going on. You know, having trusted people like that is important also. I remember reading in a book that a lot of this was the book was Relentless. It was written by I think it was Tim Grover. He was the guy that coached Michael Jordan, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
He's written how a lot of guys, you know, they would have one or two coaches long term. You know, even if the coach wasn't exactly the best at what they did, like these guys trusted these coaches so much, and these coaches knew these players so intimately that they were able to create a lot of success between the two of them. You know, versus guys who had five or six coaches, like trying to blend a bunch of different things together and causing issues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, trying to take a golfer's swing, for instance, and try to correct something that he's done for 20 years that works well for him. You know, just interesting stuff for me.
Oh, absolutely. And it's nice to get different opinions and outside views, but I mean, it really comes down to having your core instructors who are going to be able to, they know you the best. They know what your skills are, your weaknesses, and, what you progressed through instead of going to someone fresh who they've never seen you shoot before. They don't know how you shoot or what you've gone through already because they might go down a different rabbit hole entirely that
Yep.
you really don't need to go travel down because you've already explored that and come back and said it didn't work.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with seeing different people. I'm not saying not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, you know, really keep close, you know, one or two people who for one you get along with well and they know you pretty well. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whether it doesn't matter who it is really, you
Yeah.
know, as long as you guys are working together and as long as they're able to help you progress, that's important.
Yeah, it definitely is. Progression is always the key. You stagnate and die. I mean, I think it's sharks. If they don't keep swimming, they'll die.
Yep. And it's small improvements every day. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's listen, like my yearly goal this year really is transition.
Mm-hmm.
Like fully master and understand proper confirmation level of shooting, transitions in their entire,ties, like really collect a lot of data and be able to master this in as perfect a way as I possibly can. You know, that is going to take me where I want to be. If I do that, I believe I can make my goal. You know,
Yeah.
so and that's what we're working on now. So
Good. Well, now speaking of your goal, I want to ask you a question. What is something that current Rob would like to tell Rob in the past about shooting?
Start earlier.
Yeah.
You know, I got into the personal protection world, and I was one of those guys. It's like, oh yeah, you know, I'd rather train. You know, I don't want to compete. Like, um, competition. That's not that. I wish I would have liked to have started earlier. You know, instead of getting stuck in that way. You know, in a sense, I was afraid. You know, and hey, I don't know how this is going to end up. You know, but once I finally got over that, and started training with the right guys, I'm like, oh no, this is the way. Like, this is how it has to be.
Hmm.
And performance based stuff always interested me a lot. So, you know, taking this kind of thing, that's the one thing I would tell myself is to start when I really started getting serious into shooting, to start competing. You know, 2013, 2014
Hmm.
probably would have been a big difference by this point too.
Yeah, right after the first ammo scarce with Sandy Hook and
Oh yeah, well forget it. I'm in New York, so they try to fuck you every which way they can. So
yeah.
um, yeah, I actually started reloading back then. Like back then because of that whole thing. Like they had an ammo, like they wanted an ammo database and wanted background check on ammo and like all this retarded stuff. So I did not want I didn't want that, so I started reloading. That's when I learned to do it.
Because you started on that Hornady, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I
Me.
had that. I bought that in 2012 actually,
Hmm.
12 or 2013, and I had it. And then when I started competing, I was buying Phoenix ammo because it was cheap
Hmm.
uh, and reasonable ammo, and I get it pretty quick. And once this whole nonsense last year started, um, took me 6 weeks to get a couple thousand rounds, and I'm like, oh, this is not going to be good. So I actually went and got my Hornady press and set it up and started making ammo again. You know,
Hmm.
thank God it's been a blessing. I mean, it's been I sold that. I got a Dillon RL 1100 now,
Hmm.
so put the bullet feeder on it, it had the case feeder, so I have it all automated now, except for I still have the bullet.
Right. Now, do you still case now? As soon as they can figure out a way to case gauge automatically, would be great.
I know. I only do it for match ammo.
Yeah.
Match ammo is important to me, so I will do it for that. For training ammo, I mean, if I have a malfunction in training, it's not the end of the world for me. You
Hmm.
know, I could spend a lot of time case gauging all of it, but I don't. I don't think it's valuable time spent for training. You know, for a match, no, I better do it. It's 100% because I don't want to have a malfunction that costs me, seconds or God forbid, a bad malfunction or something like that. So that is a necessity. Everything has to be case gauged, especially for major matches.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, who wants to go to a major match and then have your ammo not work? I mean, it's like,
So that's a pucker moment right there for sure.
yeah. I mean,
And then
I,
it stays back in mind, dude.
yep. And then you don't have confidence to shoot to your ability because what happens if I have a jam or I
Yeah.
have a light strike here and then screws
Nope.
my whole plan.
Mm-hmm. No, I leave as little as possible to chance with a big match.
Hmm. Absolutely. Speaking of major matches, what was your favorite stage from nationals this year?
Well, I mean, the one I performed best in was that 3 sections of 8, like that real burner stage. That was a lot of fun for me. But that also plays to my strengths. I mean, it was hosing and it was reloads. Like that was basically the stage.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I was 95% on that stage. Um, one Charlie and literally blazed the hell out of that stage. That's on my feed too. I posted that on my feed.
Hmm.
Uh, let's see, what other ones did I like? Well, the second stage that I shot on the first day, I liked that stage. It was left to right, couple opens, a partial. You go across to a partial. I did a reload into an open target, couple pieces of steel. the partial on the left, then run across and like literally smash the right side. You know, I I enjoy shooting fast. I do.
Mm-hmm.
So and being able to program it and execute it now is has been super helpful in that regard. That was probably one of my favorites for sure.
Do you remember what stage number that was by any chance?
It was either 15 or 16.
Oh, okay.
Because we started on the first stage of the Charlie Bays, and that was the second stage of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, that one was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I think the one stage I liked to watch the most, because I only got to indulge through either people's posting of videos or the USPSA live stream. I mean, we only got to see 5 bays on that live stream, unfortunately. But my favorite two were the one where you feet outside the shooting area, gun on the table, facing uprange, mags on belt.
Yep, yep. That was the two activators. Yeah, yeah. You had a clamshell and a bobber.
Yep,
Yep.
I liked that one. At least it looked fun to watch. I would love a local match to set that up because that looked pretty cool. Looked technical enough for everyone to enjoy that one.
Yeah, they had another one that was similar to that. In the Bravo section on day 3, I shot that one where they had a bobber on one side and they had a swinger on the other side, and you had to grab the mag off a barrel.
And it was as you were running across it was the one you went from table to table essentially.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That one was a fun one. That was one of the ones I enjoyed too, and the one next to it too, which was the stand and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I always enjoy the stand and shoots because the reload is always fun. You know?
Yeah, because you definitely have a good standing reload, sir.
So I tell people about this, but on that stand and shoot stage, right? You shot
Mm-hmm.
2 outsides, open, on the outsides, and you reloaded and did 2 opens and 2 basically headshots.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness, right, and speed and all that stuff and information processing. When I did that reload, right, and it's on my feed somewhere, so you can look it up. But when I did that reload, I remember seeing the 5-10 hole witness marks, as if I literally had the mags like this in my hand and I was looking on that.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't throw the mag in the gun. I teach what I call rubber band and pause. Like, so it's if your hands are an outstretched rubber band and your grip, literally snap, grab the mag, bring it up to the gun, and you pause to confirm the mag is going in and insert, or the mag is not going in, put it where it needs to be, and insert.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I do my reloads. I don't like the Burkett loads. I feel like it puts a lot of delay into your reload, like an overconfirmation for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of my way, choosing how much I want to see in my reload. Do I want it to literally stop there and then insert it, or do I want to just like, hey, it's where it needs to be. No need to wait.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I guess, and then my other next favorite stage that I liked watching was, I think it was feet on marks in the front of the bay. It kind of looked like a horseshoe that people shot. Most people went back to the left.
Yep, I went to the right. Yep.
Yep. You went to the right.
Yeah, I had a hip, like my hip fucking must have shifted, and I went to grab mag, I went to put it in the gun, and like whoop, decided to fall out of my hand. So
yeah, it kind of looked like you just threw it down and like, oh screw it, let me grab another one.
yeah. But that's the hip rotation for me is something that I'm paying close attention to now, and I'm going to work on that in training.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm getting the grab gets messed up, and then it causes issues. But that's just a training thing too. I let the camera get to me too, because that was the first stage the camera was on. It's like, oh boy. After that, I stopped caring about it. That long stage was fun too. The other long stage that they had, I was on that video also in day 3.
Yeah, that was
right.
Yeah, the really long one where you kind of like had to zigzag back and forth to shoot kind of thing. Yeah. It was a cool. I liked the live stream idea. It was kind of cool. Hopefully, hopefully they can get either more cameras or something so we can see more bays.
I would imagine they would. I'd imagine they got a good amount of viewers watching too.
Mm-hmm.
We had a bunch of guys from home that had it on their feet, you know. So it's kind of cool for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. Let's see. We are getting near the end of our time because I don't want to keep you too late because I know we all have had busy long days. But I've got one thing, two more questions or so. What is something that people can either stop doing or start doing to get better?
Is there any sort of context to that, or is it kind of an open-ended question?
Open-ended question.
Okay. So I'd say stop focusing on the results, right? And stop beating yourself up. I think a lot of people get too frustrated and they close themselves off to finding solutions to problems. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had bad matches, and everybody's going to have it from time to time. They're not going to be happy with themselves, not happy with their performance. But by continuously beating yourself up, it's not going to do you any good. So it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be frustrated in training or at a match or whatever have you. Like it's all right. It's all right to have those thoughts, but you need to put those thoughts to positive action. You know what I mean? If you're feeling bad about yourself, hey, listen, that's fine. Have your pity party for a little bit, but make the commitment to find the issues and solve those issues. Like get up the next day and get training. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people will dwell on that stuff for too long, and it causes them either to not train or it causes their training to not be effective because now they're frustrated and just trying to train angry, which doesn't, you stop thinking,
Mm-hmm.
you stop paying attention to that kind of stuff. And a lot of people are too focused on the results of matches or whatever their training is or whatever, where they're like, hey, listen, I want to do well. It's not how you do well. You don't do well by focusing on the results. You focus on the process that you need to get the best performance out of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, start doing, honestly speaking, paying attention to your mindset. A couple things like optimal energy levels. The mindfulness training, to be quite honest, is a big help. They have an app. It's called Mindfulness Coach. It's created by the VA actually, and it's got a lot of good information. It'll teach you what mindfulness is, give you some exercises to do. But basically, that starts building your mental fortitude, especially at a max, like being able to put away things that you don't want to think about, or things that you want to think about later. You can literally wipe them out of your mind, focus back on your process.
Mm-hmm.
Those things for me were important, and start thinking about stages in terms of programming and execution. It's not about how you feel. It's about this is the way I need to do it, and I'm going to commit to doing it this way, regardless of the result. Just
Mm-hmm.
typically speaking, as long as you've programmed it correctly for yourself, your stage is going to go pretty well, regardless of how you feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Rob, do you have any sponsors?
So I have NB Reloading. They're my bullet sponsor. And Shooters Global actually sponsored us for nationals. So I actually have one of their. Did I bring it in here? I think so. Here. So yeah, they sent us this timer. They sponsored us for nationals. Right. This timer, it's got a lot of features, man.
Mm-hmm.
If you pay attention to JJ's feed, JJ's been posting it up quite a bit, but it's got a good magnetic clip. It's got good features in terms of the settings and the sensor modes and all that stuff. It actually wireless charges too, and their app is pretty cool. So in some apps you could stage design. Android is not up yet, but iPhone it is. But you can stage design, and you could actually take video through the app, and it overlays the split times on the timer.
Oh, that is pretty cool then.
It's pretty cool. If you remind me, I'll send you a video of where I did it for just while I was messing around in dry fire.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of good stuff. Good companies, both of them. NB Reloading. I mean, Brian's taking care of me. He sponsored me last year, So he's one of the few guys that actually like reached out and called me to say, hey, listen, this is what I'm going to do, your order. And then he called me again, your order's going out tomorrow. Like, really, really nice guy. And his bullets are very good.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, that's
but
awesome.
always, you know, I mean, a gun sponsor would be nice.
Yeah.
But in time, things in time.
True that. Everything good comes with time.
Absolutely. You know, when the time is right, the time is right, you know. And it's gotta be mutually beneficial. I need to be able to, you know, do for them just like they would do for me. So it's not
Mhm.
about just taking it. You gotta give and take.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all what life is a battle of give and take.
That's what it is, you know, as much as I, you know, I feel like my individual goals are things that are going to happen along the way. Um, Teaching and training people is where the, you know, what I feel is what I'm kind of meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
Helping other people succeed is important, you know, serving others, being able to give back what others have given me. Like that's the most important thing to me, you know.
No words have been more true. Well, Rob, where can they find you? I know you are all over the internet. Where can they find you?
So Instagram is probably the best place to get in touch with me. So at Rob Epifania, that is going to be the place that I'm most frequenting. You know, I have Facebook. I really don't do much on Facebook. If you message me, I'll get back to you on Facebook Messenger too. But Instagram is the best place. I do have a website, but frankly I have to update it with some new information and booking and all that stuff. But yeah, Instagram would be the best way.
Boom. Instagram. Everybody. Go check out. Well, you got a YouTube channel too. You post there too
I do.
sometimes.
I do. I post probably once or twice a week on my YouTube. But like I said, I'm the most interactive with it. You'll get a
Yeah.
response from me pretty quickly.
Yeah. Go check it. Everybody got to go check out his YouTube videos. Go check out him on Instagram. He he's always at it. He's doing something. Rob is awesome. He was a plethora of knowledge for me getting into the sport. And I remember, I think it was the guy who's actually your shirt you're wearing, John from Hammer and Sear. He was the first one to hook me up with you when I first started. And yeah, it's been a fun relationship ever since. We chit chat every once in a while.
Oh yeah, and you know I'm
Absolutely.
always happy. Anybody, if you ever want to reach out, don't feel shy. Don't feel like you're bothering me. You're not. I'm happy to talk about this stuff pretty much all day and all night, as Alex and I have been doing for the past, I don't know, hour and a
Yeah.
half.
Oh, absolutely. This has been a blast. So everybody remember, have a great day. But until next time, get out and do the things. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks, Alex.
Oh, boom.